What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is because people get to know you, they get to see you.
Making those efficiencies to maximise service profits as well as just product profits.
When you lose the enthusiasm, that's the point to move on.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through Scale Up Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ethos. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer or by going to all the W's, ethosgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk.
Hello everyone, this is your host, Granger Forson, welcoming you to another enlightening episode of Scale Up Radio. You can find me at www.bizsmart-gloucestershire.co.uk or on LinkedIn. Today, we're in for an exclusive treat as we sit down with an accomplished professional who has mastered the art of riding the winds of change and navigating the evolving landscape of public relations, Andrea Bristol. Andrea, the tour de force behind Admire PR, started her venture just before the pandemic. Over the past 4.5 years, she skillfully assembled a diverse team of remote professionals. Her team forms the backbone of a flourishing business that aids clients with press coverages, award entries, crisis management, and local media strategies. Andrea's extensive experience and unique perspective on the PR industry, honed from her initial days as a professional athlete in the equine championships to her present leadership role, makes this conversation a must listen. In our conversation, Andrea illuminates us on the finer nuances of a business. She talks about the journey from the sports industry to the PR world and the transitions and transformations in her business model and her passionate drive for success. This discussion also provides insight into the ethos and the structure of her organisation, from building a remote team that feel like a family to establishing a work culture that encourages gratitude and teamwork. Andrea shares the elements that make Admire PR stand out. We also get a chance to explore how technology has played a role in her company's growth and her plans for the future. So saddle up, get ready to be inspired as we learn from Andrea's experiences and take a valuable lesson that can be applied to your own journeys. Hello, Andrea Bristol, and welcome to Scale Up Radio. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, thanks so much, Granger, for asking me on. I'm Andrea Bristol. I'm from Admire PR. And I live in Gloucestershire.
Ah, fabulous. So tell us all about Admire PR. How big are you? How long have you been going? And who your customers and how you help them?
So I've been in PR for 18 years, but I started Admire 4.5 years ago. So shortly before the world went a bit crazy with the pandemic. And with there is myself, I work full time, and I've got 8 lovely team members who all work part time and remotely for me. And we do press coverage, award entries, crisis management, social media strategy, and really just helping people put themselves out into the world. I always say we're like the like backing singers. We've got the stars, but we're behind the stars, like pushing them forward. So,
the backing singers. What a fantastic phrase. That's what PR's about. Yes. Helping everybody look good, but in the background while doing it. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's it.
Love that. Love that. So you talked about some of the services you do in terms of doing so why would a client come to you? What are they after?
Yeah, they think that quite often people start a business. We all start a business in a similar way usually. Like we've got a thing we really like doing, and we feel like we want to be our own boss. So we start our business, and then we start off with our connections we've already got in our network. So my family, friends, people you worked with before, clients you've worked with. And then you get to the point where you run out of new connections. You think, oh, crikey, what am I going to do now to put us out in the world, to make sure people know about the work we're doing and to know that it's really good. And then sometimes a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, I feel a bit icky, like, oh, I don't really want to talk about myself like that. It feels really difficult. So those are two really good situations where, clients will come to us. They just need that extra nudge and a bit of help.
I can understand the sort of extra nudge in terms of, starting to, as my business is growing, I need that more exposure across the marketplace. And that's what you start to do. So what are the other elements that you do as well? You talked about crisis management, I think.
Yeah, so sometimes things go a little bit wrong. And I have to say that since the pandemic, there's been potentially a bit more negativity in the world. There's, sadly, some unhappy people out there, and it's very easy online for someone to post a negative comment. So it could be on social media, it could be a bad review that isn't what the real situation that's happened with a customer, perhaps. It can be, I've had problems with companies where they've had employees putting things on social media that aren't appropriate. The more we're out there in the digital world, the more opportunity there is for a little bit of nasty negativity to come into the world. And I think sometimes it's really useful to have an expert on call when you can phone up and say, actually, is this something that I need to answer? Should I see if I can get rid of this comment? Do we need to respond? It's really, sometimes you don't need to respond to these things, and sometimes you do. Even when the Queen passed away, we helped a lot of people wanted to know, do we say something about the Queen? Should we run our event? Is it okay? But we've got an event on Saturday, can we still do it? So I was very busy 24 hours then of just advising people like, is it appropriate to say something? Is it appropriate for us to run our event? What's the best thing to do here? So, and I think myself and my team, we quite enjoy those situations where we are called on for advice. It can be under difficult circumstances, but that's what we're trained for.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of negative comments and things like that, and are there other types of crisis that people might turn around and need PR help for then as well?
Yeah, there can be. Sometimes it's whether you call it crisis it might not be like an immediate crisis. It might be something that's a little bit of a slower burn. So it can be something as simple as, for instance, a charity that has an ambassador that isn't really aligned with them. So it's not doing them any favours. So it's not actually a crisis. Nothing bad's happened, but it's just that there isn't something positive going on. So, and actually it can turn, and those sorts of situations can turn into a problem. So sometimes it's more nuanced than actually something, say a fire in a factory and there being police involvement or something like that, which is an obvious crisis, needs to be dealt with at that moment. Some sort of statement needs to go out to the public. Sometimes it can be something that doesn't seem like a negative. It's just a bit disappointing maybe at first, but then it can turn into that. So so we're happy to look at all sorts of situations.
So we've got a good understanding now of of what you do in terms of those bits and pieces. So how would I find you? Why would I come knocking on the door? And how do you then go about helping me?
We work in Southwest and Gloucestershire, but also across the whole UK. So we work with local companies, ones who are selling nationally, and also ones from other countries who want to promote themselves in the UK. So you come to me, you think that, let's say that you think that more people need to know about the great work that you do. So I'm often found on LinkedIn. That's where a lot of people find me. So the first thing we do is we talk to a company, probably in a similar way to how you would talk to somebody. Let's find out a bit about your business and your plans, what you're trying to achieve in the next year. What are your hopes and dreams? Then we look at what's all the marketing that you're doing at the moment. So we look at people's website and their social media and any PR they might have done in the past, any advertising, and just have a little look and check that there isn't a major gap in the kind of basic structure of the marketing. And then we'll look at okay, how can things that we do, so whether that's finding interviews or press coverage for people or awards, how can we fit in some really good PR activities into the plans they've already got in place? So that's how we tend to start. So we're looking at being part of that business development and the business growth, and looking at where we can put in some PR activities.
Okay. So that's how you start working with us. So you said initially in terms of doing that. So what would then come next? How would my relationship with you grow and develop over time then?
Yeah, so it's always like a test and measure situation. So we tend to set a plan for 3 months. So we divide into quarters. A lot of businesses will run on a quarterly basis. They'll have their plans in place for each quarter. And we'll set out a certain amount of press coverage we're going to try and achieve in that time. And then we'll look at what impacted the most positively. What did you get phone calls from? Who noticed what? And then we can then plan to do more of the things that work really well. And there might be some things that didn't land so well straight away. Then we'll look at that and how we can improve those and how we can make sure that you're really getting in front of the clients that you want to. I think one of the most important things that we do is a little bit like being a detective. So we're trying to find your ideal customers and where they hang out. So whether that's they might be people that love social media, they might like read in the newspaper, they might like listening to the radio. So we're finding where your customers are hanging out and making sure that we get the right words, the things that you want to promote in front of those people. And it can take a bit of time. I mean, I had someone today who said, they want to be in front of architects. Now that's quite a nice niche group of people that we can get them in front of. But if it's like, we want to be in front of SMEs that have got, between 10 and 50 employees, that's a very wide group of people. That's harder to nail that down. So that takes a bit more sort of digging into, if that makes sense. So it's like a rolling, ongoing, tweaking, finding the right stories, building partnerships, and really sort of pushing our clients forward into the right spaces for them.
Yes. Yeah, and that wonderful phrase, finding where your customers are and where they hang out. Isn't that the dream of every business owner with their marketing processes? So
yeah, totally. Yeah,
you're the person that can help them start to answer or experiment to find where to answer that question. So that's the first time I've met somebody who actually talks about doing that. So yeah, it's
good fun. It's like I always say it's like being a detective, trying to find them. And the world's changed a bit since the pandemic. So pre-pandemic, I'd use things like airport lounges where they've got certain press. They have an airport lounge. That was a really good way of getting to the C-level executives of certain types of businesses. So we do that. But now there's less travel, more online. There's business travel has started again, but a lot of people are looking at the sustainability. They don't particularly want to travel so much. So now, and people are working from home more. So regional press and local radio, they reach very different people now than they used to. Because you've got different types of people listening to the radio and consuming their local regional newspapers and magazines. So yeah, things have changed.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that was a really interesting insight there. So never thought of airport lounges before. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a little. Yeah, they are back a little bit. But that's one of Andrea's little secrets.
So talking about the business, so what do you think? What makes you different? What do you strive to be excellent at?
I think we are very good at being real parts of our clients' businesses. Like we really care. We really care about getting our clients in the press or promoting them in the way that they want to be promoted for all the good things they do. And we very seamlessly can fit into, whether it's a charity or a client, we become part of their marketing team. And that's, to us, that's really, really important. Also, and I know this sounds like really basic, but we do actually get people in the press. And I've seen it before where people have been promised press coverage and it actually hasn't happened for them. That can be really disappointing. And maybe they've just been promised the wrong sort of thing. And it's not that easy to do sometimes. You've got to find the right story for the right journalist, for the right publication, for the right audience. There's a lot of things in place that I think sometimes I just say, well, actually we get people in the press, we actually do that. So that can it potentially shouldn't be a USP for a PR company, but it is in some ways. So yeah, I'm quite vocal about these things.
And who are your sort of ideal customers? Who do you work best with?
Yeah, that's always hard because I love, we've got some really amazing customers and they're from lots of different backgrounds. But I have to say, so before I became a PR, I was a professional athlete. So when I'm working with sort of sports and technology and any of those things where people are developing something to either help a person or a service get that little bit better, those 1% kind of marginal gains, anything that's involved in making something work better, I love that. That's just, it really speaks to me. So I guess my personal love is anything to do with sports technology. That's totally everything for me. But I know we've got two of our team members that absolutely love working on charity campaigns. To them, that is really, they love that. I've got two team who are really like me, a little bit into their tech, and they like the things that are hard to explain, but to make them easy. And then there's a couple of people who are like me, who kind of got the sporting background, and we work, from athlete side as well as products they might be using or industry things and sports clubs and things. So we love all of those things really. But yes, sports, tech and charities.
Right.
Sports,
tech charities.
Sports, tech and charities. Yeah.
So in terms of the marketplace for PR, what's changing? What's happening? As is it constant? Is it ups and down?
So it's pretty all year round. I think that's one thing that I'd say, a lot of people get a summer kind of quieter bit, but actually we're usually gearing up for awards and things in the autumn. So we've generally got a fair amount of work going on. In the wider landscape, I think we're in interesting times in the UK at the moment. We've got, I think next year we might have an election, and I think that news of that might boost a lot of the sort of SME community. There's some business people who are, we've had a tough couple of years, and it's building, and I think it's going in the right direction. But we see that with our clients. So it's an ever-changing world, and it's very, very fast-paced. In some ways, PR, marketing, they haven't changed and they won't change because it's people by people at the end of the day. It's human nature, and most purchases are based on some kind of connection or human emotion, however clever you are with data and your strategy. So that will never change. People are people, and humans want that kind of contact. But the ways we get that information across to the human, that changes all the time. There's a lot of AI technology coming out. There's lots of things ease the world of work and industry, and those things are always changing. But I often people ask me, what's changed, in PR since you started? Well, I started out cutting out articles and sticking them into a book and having to post them to my clients. And now I've got some lovely software that makes a nice report, but it's still the same. Really, the clients want to see what coverage they've got, and then they feel great when they see it. It's just the tool we use is different. So yeah, there's a lot of things changing, but I always think it's quite nice to know that a lot of things are constant as well.
Yeah, it's interesting your description there in terms of, actually it's still the same, but all that's happening is the technology is making it easier and speeding it up. And I liked your discussion on marginal gains. You like to focus on that marginal gain, those small improvements. And actually, I have a continuous improvement lean background, and often that is just about the marginal gains. Our challenge every day is to make your life 2 seconds easier. That's
see, I love that. I love that, and a lot of the way we run the company, we've looked at the way that web and tech companies will use like agile project management, and we've looked at how can we run our PR company in that way? Like, how can we always have these continual improvements? It speaks to me from my life in sport, and the way that we did that every day. So yeah, there's a parallel there.
Well, let's go to that then. So you've said that you're a professional athlete. So give us some feedback on that. And then where did the business idea come from, and Admire PR get started 4.5 years ago?
Yeah, so when I was at university, I did equine science at Bristol University, and I was a very keen equestrian. I did dressage, and when I left university, I was a professional rider for several years. Equestrian sport, and any sport at any high level is expensive. I had another job. I always had a job. I was coaching. I also got into sales because I could actually sell like veterinary products and animal feed and all things like that whilst I was traveling, competing. So it fitted in really, really nicely. And I discovered when selling that you needed to have a really lovely market to sell into, otherwise it was really difficult. And I also discovered that in some of the companies I was working with, they didn't have a market to sell into, so selling was very, very difficult, and I also needed to work out how to do that. And at the same time, I was managing my own sponsorship and my own media stuff for my riding, and in a quite a small way. But then I realized that those two sort of disciplines could merge together. So I got a job doing some sales. It was about 19 years ago, but they also needed a brand manager. And it just happened I seemed to naturally have those skills. So that's how I started out. And I was working with them part-time and still riding. And then children happened, and I retired from professional riding, professional sport, and I've got 3 brilliant kids. They're amazing, and my business kind of grew organically whilst I had the kids, and I was working freelance, consulting, and it wasn't until towards the end of 2018 I met a group of business people in Bristol, and a couple of them had agencies. And I think one day I was just saying, I'm doing a lot of this consulting and these bigger agencies, and it seemed quite clunky. There were lots of processes, which were great, but actually it took so long I was doing some of the pitching from the initial chat with a client to actually get in a proposal to them with a quote. And it seemed to take so long that we seemed to be losing opportunities. And I was getting a bit frustrated because there were a couple of really great, and I still thought, that would have been so good to work on that we didn't get. And a couple of my friends was just, well, start an agency then, start your own thing. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'll give that a go. And so I'm an accidental agency owner, is what I call it, because I didn't really go into it thinking I'd build something. And now, so roll on kind of 4 years, and now, there's 8 of us. And everybody who works for me needs a remote working flexible schedule for some reason. So either a parent, one chap who works for me is brilliant. He's so talented, and his mum is poorly, and he cares part-time for his mum, shares with his sister. I've got one of our staff members who's been with us for several years. She's doing a master's in poetry, amazing. So we've got people with us who, they need the flexibility, but they're really talented, and they wouldn't necessarily have this job and this opportunity if we were in an office kind of traditional structure. So as well as building the agency, so we do really, great no nonsense kind of work for our clients is where we're at. Also, it's like a bit of a springboard for people into the PR industry who really thought that A, they wouldn't be able to get a job, or B, they didn't even know PR existed. They love, if you love words, you can be a great PR. I think there's a place for you. So it's like, it's both of those things. And I love mentoring, and we had a work experience student last week. Absolutely fantastic. 2 of my team members were just like, well, why isn't she here next month? Well, she's gone back to school. But we want her to stay. So I've just offered this young lady some holiday work. So actually, the team don't want you to go. So would you like to ask your dad if you can do some work? Because she was great, absolutely fantastic. It's just really lovely. So that's how we started, and it's a bit of a kind of watch this space at the moment. I've got an 8-year plan which takes me to when I'm 55, and I've got that because I kind of think that then I might want to, part of my time, I won't want to lean more into something else like the mentoring, which I already do a bit of. I might want to do a bit more of that and have that choice. So, have a management have the team ready to take over a bit more at that point. So we'll see how it goes. I've only recently, actually this last weekend, shared with the whole team my vision of getting to that point, and they're all quite excited. So they clearly want to push me along to that. As
Brilliant.
possible. We'll take it.
Brilliant. So I'm interested in terms of, you sort of recruit, people work for you. Are they employees, or are they?
Got a mixture.
Okay.
So we've got half of us are on the payroll.
Yeah.
And one of those is an apprentice, and he's 40 and doing an apprenticeship, which I think is
brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. I think the apprenticeship system that we've got here in the UK at the moment is just fabulous. And then the others are all freelance, and do some other work as well as work.
So how do you go about finding these amazing people that you work with, and how do you select them? That's what I'm interested in.
It's really interesting. So we've only had one that's come through what I would call a traditional recruitment exercise. I wanted someone in a particular area of the UK because I just felt a great area to have someone in. So we did quite what I would call traditional recruitment process for that individual, and the others have come more from the kind of this is a sort of a couple of them come from this is the sort of person that I need, and then almost like finding them from previous contacts. So Kira, who's pretty much my right hand now in the business and manages the team, I wrote a list of all the attributes I need for someone to have who could be that person. So basically, not, gets on with me really well, but it's pretty much the opposite of me. All the things that I find hard to do and I don't particularly think that I excel at, I need somebody who is good at those. And I realised that I'd met this person in my life, that we'd done some work together previously. So I phoned her up and asked her if she wanted to work with me. And sometimes it's just seeing there's a thing, isn't there? You can see it in someone. They've got a kind of talent they don't realise they've got. And it's being able to see that, and I'm lucky because I can see that. But then also, it's we do use like Harrison assessments, which is like psychometric assessment. We have used those a couple of times as well, just to make sure that they're going to fit into the remote working in the system that we've got, because it's not for everyone. And I think that's really important to realise too. But we do offer internships and work experience, and we've found a lot of our staff from that. They've come for work for a week, and then they're really good. They don't really get to leave. They're great. We just don't let them. Like us.
and you mentioned it there, remote working. It's not for everybody. It doesn't always work in terms of that structure for individuals, but in the businesses as well. And some people are really for it, some people are against it. But I think the most important thing is having the right culture and keeping that no matter what your business structure is. So what is your business culture? How do you keep it alive through your remote working process? I think the first thing to say is everybody really needs that remote working in our company. They need it. So we're all almost thankful we've got this opportunity to work together. And I think that's really lovely to start from a point of gratitude, that we're together that way. We've got a very good mixture of fun and serious. Like, we're very, very serious about the work we do for our clients. But we don't take ourselves seriously. Do you know what I mean? Where there's a sense of fun between us, and we care for each other as well, genuinely really care for each other. So it is a bit like coming into a little family, really. And the great thing is all of us are quite multi-skilled. So if someone's struggling with something, someone else can easily jump in and help them. And we tend to, even though we tend to have things we all prefer doing and are more able to do naturally, there's nothing that no one else wouldn't have a go at. And I think that's really, really good as well. It's quite open. I think, how do you keep that sense of fun and togetherness going? I'm intrigued because you're all remote. People think you only work in the office, but actually it doesn't. How do you do it? It's
so we have our policy of talking about personal stuff as well as work things. So when we're on our calls, we'll have a daily call, and we usually start with how's it going on a personal level, and then we'll move on to these are the things. Does anyone need anything? Everybody knows what work Kira tends to keep everyone together. These are the tasks you need to do. This is what's going on this week. So we have that, and then we also have a very hilarious WhatsApp group where not only is it work stuff, there's other usually me having done something a little bit silly with a horse or something, this is what goes on. So we have that as well. And I have to say that we naturally just get on, and we keep that, and we're very quick if someone's not quite feeling themselves. Myself or Kira will generally notice pretty quickly and go and have a chat. It's all about talking to each other and being really open and having a really open culture. It works. It's not as difficult as I thought it would be. I have to say. But yeah, a lot of it comes from that very fair, understanding that it's not for everyone. And if if one of my staff, so if for instance somebody wanted to go and work in a co-working space for a day a week or something, then we sort that out for them. If they don't want to be in their own home, like Kira has a Starbucks day each week because she goes and sits, and that's her day out. And so we will facilitate that, the ways people need to work. But yeah, we seem to slot in. And even with the work experience student last week, the first time we've done a whole week remotely with somebody, and we were very organised in advance, and that's a real key as well. It's been very organised in meetings and people's schedules and things. It worked a treat. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Work experience in a remote working environment. Fantastic. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. I'm really impressed with that. I love that. That's awesome.
I was quite impressed as well, to be honest, because I really thought about it. Yeah, it was good.
So one of the things that's important in business is keeping an eye on cash.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you manage cash within your business?
Oh, do you know what? I think that is the hardest thing at the moment, because I expect you find this is as your clients grow in size, it takes longer to be paid by the bigger companies. Like all our smaller clients are amazing, but the bigger the company, so cash flow is tricky. And I have had to have some help from finance last year just to help with the cash flow. Basically, we knew we were having money coming in, you could see it, it's just not in. So I think now we've got into a rhythm with that. It's okay, but it's something I keep an eye on every day, to be honest. It's part of my job. And it is a worry sometimes, as a business owner. Like it is, it's the one thing that will keep me awake at night, actually. It's that one thing. Everybody has a thing, that will, most people do anyway. That's my one thing, but it's just a matter of keeping on top of it. And I also find that I'm in like a mastermind group with other agency owners, and I find that really helpful because we can share things like that, and it's people who've got a similar business structure. And that's that, and we learn like best practice from each other. And I feel things like this, then again, technology helps. So things like Go Cardless, for instance, that's brilliant for companies my size. It really takes some of the headache away from everybody. So things like that can be really helpful.
Yes, and connecting something like Go Cardless to Zero.
Just using that tech is really, really helpful. Yeah.
So what drives you crazy about the industry, the PR industry? If I gave you a magic wand, what would you change?
There's a couple of things. So one would be, I think there are some agencies, and I can understand why they charge what they charge if they've got big office spaces and things, but I think there are some agencies that do overcharge their clients for what they're actually doing. And I think it puts a bit of pressure on all of us in the industry, because then we can be seen as being like expensive, or, oh no, PR's out of my league, and it's part of marketing, and it's, most businesses will need it at some stage, and it's very affordable, and you can measure the results. And that's the other part of it, is that when people say, oh, well, you can't really measure the ROI on PR. Like, of course you can. It's just it depends what value means to each client. Some clients want value as in website clicks. Some clients want value in phone calls. Some clients want value in awareness or an award nomination. And so yes, of course you can measure it. It's just being clever about what you measure. So those are the two things, I think.
And you've given us an indication that you've got an 8-year plan. Brilliant, well done.
Yeah.
So if we were to meet in 5 years' time, and we were looking back over the last 5 years, what's happened both professionally and personally for you to consider them a successful 5 years?
Yeah, I think what I always say to the staff is what I'd really love to be able to do is we're not all going to be millionaires. That's not what we want, but I want everybody to be able to live well. And to be able to take their kids on a holiday and to have choice and be able to have a little adventure. That's everybody deserves to have. We've got one life to live, and everybody deserves to have a little bit of an adventure in life. And if we can do that through work and out of work, and Maya can be, the conduit that provides that for everybody, I think that would be, for me, that would be success. Plus I want a horse. Yeah. Again. So that's
you said earlier on just how expensive they are to do. And
exactly. But it's my love,
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Well, Andrea, wow, what a fantastic conversation that we've had over the past 40 minutes, talking, 4.5 years ago, how you set out to become an accidental agency owner. I thought that was a fantastic expression, because you were fed up with the way the other agencies were doing it, and you knew that you could do it a much better way. Your attention for detail on that marginal gains, which came from your background in the equestrian world, in terms of always improving through your athletic approach to things, and you brought that to your business, and you could see that in others, and you did it yourself. Fantastic in terms of doing that. And I love your attention to detail around your people, and how you found those people that need remote working, need their flexible time, but how they've also come together and joined as a family, and you created a family unit in the way that you do things, and you organize everybody, and really powerful. And your honesty about cash, absolutely. Every business owner feels exactly the same way, and I'll hold my hand up and say, there are nights when I feel the same in terms of doing that, but just that energy and enthusiasm that you've come across in terms of, what PR is about, and how it can really help small businesses and medium businesses really, deliver their aspirations and their goals, and how you've helped them really understand that, and I think that's really important. And I think that real conversation you started off with, which is, people buy from people, but it's that human nature, that human connection that we need, and it's how you help bring that together through the PR work that you do. So thank you so much for all the thoughts and insights around that. So we always finish with an exciting short answer round, our quick fire questions. So if I may, if you were to go back to younger you, what advice would you give yourself?
You're braver than you think you are. Yeah, believe. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Any books that you recommend?
I read Small Giants is a book that I've read this year that I absolutely love. It's about how to grow a business with kind of thought and to the community around you. It's people above profit. There's nothing wrong with running a profitable business. I think a business should be profitable. That's the point. But it's it's a really, really inspiring book, actually. I love it. Yeah.
Brilliant. I don't know that one, so I'll be looking that one.
Oh, you need to read that one. Yeah.
Podcasts. Do you listen to any? Do you recommend any?
I do. Actually, and this is quite a controversial podcast because it's the BNI podcast. Not everybody loves BNI as a network. The podcast it's really, really good. There's some really interesting people interviewed on it. There's about 800 and something episodes, and there's some with Richard Branson. And it's not one of those that you'd think of going to listen to. But if you search through the different episodes, there's something for everyone on there. It's great. Yeah, I listen to it in the car. Yeah, it's good.
I listen to a few now and then on those as well. So, but I haven't gone back in time. So thank you for that recommendation. Yeah. Onto your phone, any apps on your phone that make a difference for you?
So Definitely having roadblocks on my phone to keep the kids entertained while I'm doing something else. That's always really good. But for work-wise, we use Asana for our project management, and having my tasks on the phone and having those linked to my calendar is like, yeah, it's really helpful. I can just see where everyone's up to at any time. Yeah.
My favourite question of all, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader?
That's really easy. There's a lady, she lives in Strasbourg now, Monique van Doren Westerdaal. And Monique was the first person to give me the opportunity of what I call a proper job while I was a rider. And she saw in me that I had a talent for PR and marketing. And I still work with Monique now, 18 years on, and we've become good friends over the years. And I really respect how she is a COO in a company in France, and I really respect how she runs her team and how her attention to detail. And yeah, we're very aligned on a lot of things. So yeah,
brilliant. Your most successful marketing tactic or lead generation?
Networking, like meet people, build relationships, go with no thought of what you might get out of something. Just go and be you and talk to people and find out about them. Be curious.
Awesome. And finally, Andrea, how can people get hold of you?
Come and find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way. Or you can look up Admire PR. But yeah, come and find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Andrea Bristol, thank you so much for this fantastic conversation today.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.